This channel is about bringing stories that have hidden for so long in the darkness out into the light, empowering and educating through new media. For individuals, VIPs and politicians abusing young boys, the media weren't there, and I have had to live through that, and it has changed me. And you've seen.
Okay, so what is your thoughts? What is your theory on why that is so?
There's no money behind the message. It's all driven by there's no interest in children and the abuse of children. I
can't see that being the case, but
I don't know, why aren't they there? Mark Watts, I believe, was there every day, but why have they gone with the whole Carl Beach, Nick story where there's a fantasy?
Well, let's cut straight to brass tacks. A whole section of the media makes money out of misery. That's their primary purpose, is to make money out of shame and base human instincts that play themselves out and then become stories, and it's clickbait. Why isn't this exactly that? Clickbait of the very lowest level.
And what the fixation on one story like Madeleine McCann, when there are so many children, being abused, and but
is it not
the way the media works, though, Robbie? You know this. How did you get to where you are? What?
How did I get to where I am?
If you work in a newsroom, it's all based on the wires and communications and agencies and PR. So it's people, corporations with money. The journalists will have a relationship of trust with communications and PR and news agencies. They're pumping out content very quickly. They're not listening to people that call the newsroom, public, with their distressing stories. They're literally, because it's low risk, these stories are low legal risk, and they can get them out quickly. They rewrite them slightly, put a sexy headline on. A lot of journalists are good people, and I'm upset and disturbed to see the attack on the media. But they have to stand up. They have to rise up. They have to be courageous like you are. What you're doing now, you're like a whistleblower, and coming forward and saying the truth of what's in your heart. And you talk about it being fringe. I don't think it is fringe anymore. There's something really.
I woke up and there was 32,000 tweets about Pizzagate today.
Really?
It's like I woke up in a different reality. And the scary thing for me was the overarching reporting on that particular subject was the debunked conspiracy theory making the rounds again. Debunked by who?
By Sky News. 3-4 days ago, they released that documentary, which I don't think you could see, called After Truth, where they talked about Pizzagate. And it was poor because they didn't address the source material, which are these emails, from John Podesta, who was Hillary Clinton's campaign manager. Someone wrote to John, "Hey, John, I need my glasses on. Walnut sauce for the pasta. Was the sauce actually very tasty?" You've gone to the source material, Robbie, I'm assuming. And
but that's what I
mean. It doesn't make any sense. Look, it's obvious, isn't it? The WikiLeaks emails that were shared with the world, I think back in 2000, just before the election, they've got strange language in them, yeah?
That's the bit that I'm concerned about. Now, look, there might be a perfectly reasonable explanation for that language. Who knows? The fact that we don't know means that nothing has been debunked. Yes, there was no basement in the particular pizza place. That's not the debunking that I want as a civilian, as a human that's going, hey, this bit's really fucking weird. What is that bit? Nobody's been asked, nobody's said, and there has been no answers. But the overarching reporting on this story is debunked fake news. It's not. The right questions haven't been asked to the right people in the right places. Just as I take my pop star hat off, my celebrity hat off, and just talk as Robert from Stoke-on-Trent, ST6 7HA, opposite the ancient Britain, big up Stoke-on-Trent. Just as that guy, for a moment, that's watching from the terraces, Why aren't those questions being asked? You know,
and when you're trusted,
and also, if there is an explanation and it's perfectly reasonable, then the explanation is perfectly reasonable. It doesn't feel like it, but this is where we get in the horse in front of the cart again. We have bits of information, and millions and millions and millions of people out there are making 1 and 2 equals 666. You know, and this is also very dangerous. The equivalent of what's happening there out in the sphere of these people now, everybody's a publisher. Everybody that types on their computer is a publisher. And they also have no consequences to what they are writing, but they do, because their voice matters. And they write something down and then go on with their business. But they are doing the equivalent of the Salem witch trials. If we're going to put this witch in the lake, if it drowns, wasn't a witch. If it doesn't drown, it's a witch, you know, and we have to be very, very careful, which is why I was saying on Chris Thrall's thing, is discernment has to be the key, you know, is the interesting bystander. And the people that I'm talking to, I'm already preaching to the converted. The people that think like me, or the people that think like you, have already got this message. They already understand it. The other people that this message is going to cannot hear this, will not hear this, and won't hear this. And that's scary.
You're right. There's a certain type of mind that can take this on, that's brave enough to deal with this.
I know I'm not talking about brave enough. I'm talking about the accusations, the 2 and 2 making 666, the symbolism, the Hollywood, the music industry, everybody's in on it, that this means something, that this symbol means something. Fucking stop. You know, it's...
You're worried. Listen, you said very clearly in Chris Thrall's interview, you're worried it's going to come back on you. You wrote some lyrics. You're very clear about this. What were those lyrics that you're worried about?
Oh, no, I'm not worried about any of the lyrics. You know, like I said, on Chris's channel, I said, which is the truth, you know, pop culture mirrors society every single year. You know, they call rap music the CNN of the streets. I love that. Pop music does exactly the same thing. It ingests everything that is being thrown at it, and then it regurgitates it and throws it back. And the thing that I have been interested in for the longest time is something that I erroneously called fringe at the beginning of this. But these thoughts, theories, and things that make you go, you know, that has been with me since I can remember. People say to me, oh, it's nice that Robbie's waking up. I've never been asleep.
What about Rock DJ? I watched that video this morning. It's absolutely horrific.
I know it's horrific, but you know, there are tricks that you do to reach people's attention. When Rock DJ came out, and up until you've just called it horrific, I just think it's funny. You know, it's not funny that there's cannibalism and throwing meat and throwing muscles at people. But I paid a advertising firm to come up with an idea, and that was the idea. And I have a dark sense of humor, I suppose. It tickled me, and it is and will always be my most memorable video. So I suppose that worked. But where it comes to me wearing a pyramid, or I had to think about it. Since this whole episode on the planet right now, why was I doing that? That also appeals to my mischievous sense of humor. It also is something that I've wanted to reappropriate and make mine, you know, in a way, not on a grand level. When the punks wore the Nazi symbol, they weren't Nazis, you know. This was authoritarianism, and there will always be a bit of me, more than a bit of me, that I live in a different social economic stratosphere now, but my soul doesn't feel like I do. My soul feels like that boy from Greenbank Road. You know, when I became famous at 16, they often say that you are stunted from that moment on. So for me, I'm sort of like a middle-aged 16-year-old. And there are things that I like to do out of mischief to press buttons. There are also things that I would like to reinterpret to the world to see if anybody's watching, to see if anybody's noticing. And sometimes it just looks great.
What someone's asked me to ask you the question, you know, what did you have to do to get into Take That? Is there any regrets you have if you look back on your life and career? Are there any things that you were compromised? Were your values and principles were compromised in any way?
Look, you know, I leave school at 16 with no GCSEs, nothing higher than a D. I can't spell, I can't add or subtract. That's not the way that my brain functions. I now know that I'm not stupid, but for the longest time, I thought I was, because the educational system presents intelligence in a certain way. And if you don't fit that criteria, then you're thick. So I've been thick for a long time. I'm beginning to realize now that that's not true. But as it happens, at that particular time, I was auditioning for everything that I could. I wanted to be an actor and I wanted to be a TV presenter. That was my dream. One of those things that I auditioned for was a band that would later be called Take That. At the point of the inception of the audition, it was called Kick It. The reason I got into that band was because of my impish personality and the cheek and whatever bit of charisma that I had at the time. My voice wasn't amazing. It wasn't terrible. I couldn't dance brilliantly. I couldn't dance terribly. But I got in because of my personality. Now you say, do I have any regrets about what we did when we were in Take That coming up? Nigel Martin Smith, who was our manager at the time, was Willy Wonka. He had the golden ticket. And I didn't have anything to go to or fall back on. My life and my future didn't look very promising at all, because I'd just been told for 5 years that if you don't pass these exams, the rest of your life is going to be shit. So I have now been given the golden ticket by Willy Wonka. Is there anything I regret about what we did? I mean, some of the songs were questionable and some of the outfits were definitely questionable. But, you know, I was knifing my way out of Stabbington, and I would have done almost anything to get out of there. I didn't have to do the things that you may be alluding to. I mean, go watch the Do What You Like video. I'm 17, barely 17 in that video. Tell me if that's appropriate. But we can all judge. You don't know the Do What You Like video. You can go and you can watch it after. We can all judge the past through a different lens. You know, these were different times. It was a different place, and I was a different person. Do
you wish you just got done? If you look back and you'd done well at school, do you think you would just be doing an ordinary job? I don't know.
No. Here's the thing, you know, you grasp onto anything that you're good at or might be good at, or there's a possibility that you might be okay at doing something. And the particular thing that I did was local amateur operatic societies, was singing. My dad's a comedian. He won his round and New Faces in 1974 and went to the final, and he lost in the final. I've grown up backstage. I've grown up with cabaret artists. It's all I've ever known. So when I did The Artful Dodger in a play and the audience gave me a standing ovation, and I got that first momentary gush of acceptance, it's so palpable and so magical, you want to chase that. And you know what? If I'd have got that from being an excellent mathematician, I would have chased that too. You know, it wasn't just the ego being stroked. How could it be? I was 12 or 13. It was appreciation and meaning something to something on the planet. Now, that was a great indication for me that I had the ability to do the thing that I loved doing. So why wouldn't I? I don't know what would have happened if I hadn't have got the audition for Take That and passed it. That's only for the gods to know. But I did, and now I'm here.
You're different to other musicians, and I saw you at Nebworth. You just have such incredible confidence and charisma.
The confidence isn't real. The charisma is. If I pat myself on the back, it's not a very British thing to say. The confidence has never been real. It's always been a shield that I've put on to actually get up there and do what I'm asking myself to do. Yeah, I've realized that through repetition and doing it over and over and over again, that the fear won't kill me and it won't overwhelm me. And I'm incredibly courageous.
You are.
And where this particular aspect is, at the start of this, I said I wasn't courageous and I'm too sensitive to deal with the noise that could come with what I'm associating myself with. But in this particular instance, all of that bravado was just me watching Mick Jagger and Tim Curry in the Rocky Horror Show and Freddie Mercury and Tina Turner and copying them. That face, that grandness, you know, that camp thing, you know, that it's just me imitating all the people that I've ever loved. And then somewhere in there, my own creation came out too.
And are you worried then that people are looking at you in a different way because they're looking at the satanic symbolism in some of your...
No, I'm not worried because, you know, you ask the everyday man may be about to have more knowledge than the everyday man has ever had. Up until this point, it has been, I'll say the word again, quite fringe. I'm not worried about what people think about the symbolism. I'm worried that people that I would consider to be my kin mentally are going down the wrong path. You know, there is that much noise, the deluge of noise and half-truths, and this religious aspect about this topic makes it very brittle and very dangerous. And, you know, that's what I worry about. I worried because like whenever I saw sort of like YouTube things about me in the past, I don't know, I think my ego got stroked a bit, that people thought I was that important, that if this magic club existed, that I would be a member. And that tickled me. Then I found it humorous. And then as this whole thing got more gas, I thought, it's actually quite a bit worrying now. I better say something. But it only exists up here, you know. You ask 99.99% of people, they don't have a clue, they wouldn't know. But I suppose that with me going on Chris's thing, I just wanted to go, hey, stop, turn back, you're in a cul-de-sac. Not just me, everybody, you know.
Well, we talk about, you know, you can call them citizen journalists. General Flynn called them digital soldiers. I've called them mobile journalists, YouTubers. You're right, everyone's an influencer, everyone's a content creator, and there's a responsibility comes with that. Because if you start sharing stuff that you haven't checked out, and that has an impact on others, doesn't it? It has an impact on society. What do you think we can do to rein that in? You say it's unchecked. Obviously, we've got Ofcom with the news.
I just think
it's not as if, I don't think you're fringe. I think the trusted media brands of the future are going to be the big boys, okay? Google and Facebook. Google obviously own YouTube. You've got Facebook and Instagram, yeah? I think you've now got censorship issues on them. So you've got situations where I put together a video from 120 academics based in Germany, virologists, immunologists, epidemiologists, saying that the lockdown needed to be lifted. They were advocating herd immunity, and that was removed from YouTube. These are the new censorship issues with these big media companies, where these are journalists. These are journalists in working for Google and Facebook at the end of the day, aren't they? We don't know who they are because they're telling us what we're going to
But also,
with them.
Did you hear about the whistleblower that was working at one of those companies, and he found a program called Computer Learning Fairness, where they had this program where the computer itself, I'm paraphrasing now, but it was very dangerous. Let's just say a certain person got into office and a certain company didn't like that certain person had got into office and decided that they would do everything in their power to mitigate his power. And there was a whistleblower within the ranks that saw them doing this and has been talking about it. I found that really interesting. I find it very, very 1987 that the program was called Computer Learning Fairness. The computer is learning fairness if you hold certain beliefs. This computer is learning fairness if you're a liberal, you know. Now, I'm not saying I'm not a liberal. I'm just saying, you know, that if you have the most powerful, one of the most powerful organizations on the planet, only amplifying one side of a debate is a problem.
For part 3 of this interview with Robbie Williams, please go over to my YouTube channel, and if you would like to support this work, please go here.